Okay, guys, welcome back to another Meet the Candidate. Tonight's candidate is Thomasene Ann Osborn, and she is the incumbent running in Tukvpvtce District Seat B. Miss Osborn, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
You're welcome.
Once again, guys, just so you know, I'm going to prioritize the chat questions. I wanted to tell you a little, and then once we run out of chat questions, I will go to the email questions. Oh, let me give you, Ms. Osborn, a few minutes to tell us why you're running for re-election and what your plans are for the coming term if you're re-elected.
Sure. I am Thomasene Yehola Osborn, but you'll see Thomasene Ann Osborn on the ballot. I am seeking re-election for my third term. I just think there's some things that I would like to do still. Bring up some new legislation. Actually working on one right now. And I think with some of the things that we are going through, there needs to be continuity. So I think that's the main thing right now. Don't necessarily have a platform. Just want to get some things done with the climate that we're in right now.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with the questions. We'll go through the chat questions, and then when we are done with those, if we get done with those, we'll go to the email questions. I want to remind you guys that I'm reading the chat questions as close to how they are written as they are, and some of the questions make assertions that I'm not making that assertion, the person asking the question is. And then also you may see T.Y. Prohl has a question in here where he uses the phrase T word. The reason he's saying that is for some reason YouTube was blocking his questions when he used the word treason. I don't know why that's happening, but so that's why his question says T word, but I'm going to read that as treason. So just so you guys know, to clear that up, it's kind of a weird thing and I don't know why it's happening. I looked into the controls on my end, but I can't turn it off. So it's something YouTube is doing. All right. So that being said, the first question on our chat here is T.Y. Prohl's asking, are you aware of the upcoming listening session organized by concerned citizens to discuss the constitutional crisis created by Grayson Kennedy decision and order issued in SC 2023-10?
I believe I've seen it come up on my news feed on Facebook, but I haven't really had the opportunity to read it just yet. So later on this evening, after I go to a community meeting later, I'll check into that and see what's going on.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl asks, do you agree this order creates a constitutional crisis? Are you aware of the petition to impeach the Supreme Court justices for treason and violating Article 9 of the Constitution, and will you sign that petition?
Again, Facebook, is a big thing anymore, social media. And, as a sitting representative, I don't know if I can sign it or not, but if I can, I will be signing it.
Okay. And so I'm assuming you agree that the order creates a constitutional crisis?
Yes.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl asks, do you support increasing the school clothing donation allocation?
What is it currently?
I have no idea. I actually don't know, but.
Well, I don't know. I know my granddaughter. I know my daughter gets it for my grandkids, but I think not against anything against anybody, but I think a lot of people kind of think we know everything about everything, and if you're not really in it, you really don't know about it. So if he or she could tell me what the amount is, we can go from there if they know.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl asks, do you support increasing the emergency hardship allocation?
I believe that's $500, and I think that's annually that they can receive that. So if that's the case, yeah. And a lot of it depends on the hardship too. I don't know if there could be like a tier. That might be something that could be looked at, but I believe that's $500.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl asks, do you support changing the age of eligibility to receive elder services?
That's a hot topic right now. I think a lot of it depended solely on the funding that we were going to be receiving, with the cuts and everything. I believe I do support that. I believe that we actually did have legislation come from the chief's office to the speaker's office, I don't know, within the last month, but it was pulled. And I did ask that question in the HEW committee meeting yesterday, and they said they were going to wait until after the budgets and revisit to see what the budgets were going to look like. So I believe so. And basically, what it comes down to is funding. Um, in fact, with social services, they're taking a big hit with the services that provide our services to our elders. We have a lot of people looking forward to becoming an elder within the nation because of all the services that are offered to our elders. So, yeah, I think due to funding, yes, I would support that.
Okay. T.Y. Pearl says that the school clothing numbers are $250 for K-12 and $350 for high school. Do you think that's enough?
No.
Okay.
No.
Moving on to the next question, T.Y. Pearl asks, considering the recent UKB resolution that was alleged to have been drafted external entities to influence internal affairs, do you support the creation of a foreign agent registry to require agents representing foreign external interests register as such under the penalty of law?
Wow, that's a mouthful. I'm not real sure about foreign. I don't.
Well, I'm just going to this is what I think he's saying, because the United States government has a foreign agent registry that if you're going to be a lobbyist and you're going to lobby for foreign powers, you have to register with them. And I think that's what he or she is trying to get at is, does the Creek Nation need one of those where if somebody's going to lobby to the council or chief for an external entity, a non-tribal entity, should we have those people get registered?
Wow. You know what? I never thought of that. Never even thought about it. So I'm probably indecisive about that, the answering that, because I've never even thought about that.
Okie dokie. Let's see here. T.Y. Pearl asks, do you support adopting term limits for elected officials and appointed board members of judiciary, tribal government, and independent agencies?
So it's funny that question is asked. I'm actually working on legislation right now for term limits for national council members. That was a question that came out of one of the forums. So I've had the discussion with some people prior to even introducing the bill. So I'm actually working on that now for national council. And you know what? I think it's not a bad idea to have, limits on some of our boards. And I think a lot of that has to do with, first of all, technology. We've got a lot of the older people can't really, navigate what we have going on now. So, and that could even be a tier as well. It could be staggered. So, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Okie doke. Let's see here. Where am I at? T.Y. Pearl asks, what is your age and political party affiliation?
Does that person know you're not supposed to ask a woman her age?
I don't know if he or she does, but it's been asked before, and that's why I preface that with I'm not asking that question. It's coming from the chat. But no, that's the question.
No, no, I don't mind. 60. I'm 60 years old. We'll be 61 next month, and Republican.
Okay. Let's see here. T.Y. Pearl asks, are you concerned that the average age of candidates seems to increase with each election and more seats seem to go vacant in the initial filing periods? Do you believe blood quantum restrictions cause this?
No, sir. Well, I think it's twofold. I think blood quantum could be one, but I also think salary. I think salary could play a part in it, and I'm going to go further with that. I know that there are surrounding tribes that council is paid more than us. But I have actually been asked by a few employees in the past if we have considered raising the salary because they could be interested in running for council, but because they have families and they live up in the northern area, that they couldn't afford to run for council because of the $47,000 annual income.
Well, they're not barred from, if they become a councilman, though, they wouldn't be barred, they wouldn't be required to quit their jobs.
Right, right. And that's another, that leads to another, should this be a full-time position or not? So it kind of just a domino effect.
Okay. Hold on here.
It's really what the people want. It's really what the people want.
Okay. Well, along those lines, would you support putting it to a referendum, or I'm assuming so citizens could vote, or?
Eventually, because I think there are some things that need to be, just like with the term limits that I'm working on now. I think there's some things along the way that definitely need to be addressed.
Okay. T.Y. Pearl asks, do you believe the cost to file to run for national council is prohibitive to recruiting candidates? Would you support lowering it? If so, what amount would you support changing it to?
Well, it's $500, and I don't know. I don't see changing it, honestly. I just honestly think if you're serious about it, you'll come up with the money.
Okay. Let's see here. T.Y. Pearl asks, do you support requiring judges to stand for votes of retention in the regular elections for principal chief?
Oh, you know what? I haven't thought of that either. So I don't know. A little indecisive about that one.
Okay. Let's see here. Going down. T.Y. Pearl asks, would you vote to approve funding to challenge the Grace and Kennedy decision in federal court like with Strobel?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to try to pronounce this, guys. I know it's a Mvskoke word, but forgive me if I mispronounce this. Tukvpvtce asks, can you share a memorable time you feel you went above and beyond to help a citizen? Mado.
Yes, I do. I don't like talking about stuff like that, but this person asked, so I will. There was a lady in Tulsa County, I believe, Tulsa District. She was ill. Her electric went out. And I had somebody from Glenpool actually reach out to me and told me what was going on. So I called Home Depot and gave them my credit card number. And the lady was able to go to that particular Home Depot and pick up an air conditioner.
Okay. T.Y. Pearl asks, will you support putting legislation on the ballot to comply with the request for legislation to comply with executive order issued recently 2025-02 to comply with the order in SC 2023-10?
If it's needed.
Okay.
I know right now with the it was mainly kind of geared towards the departments because the departments are going to have to revisit, their policies and procedures. So if it's needed, yes.
Okay. Vakinza Italiana asks, how do you differentiate yourself from other candidates running for the same seat on council?
I think for me, I'm very compassionate to people. I'm relatable to people. I think you have to have lived a life to know the people you're serving. So I honestly think that's probably my biggest quality that I have.
Okay. We've got a lull in the chat questions here, so I'm going to go to my email questions. Well, what's your opinion on the district voting amendment that's on the ballot?
So I am in favor of it, and this is why. Probably a couple years ago, before it even came to the committee and to full council, I began asking the communities within my district what they thought about district voting, going back to district voting. And I recall, especially in the rural areas, I recall one elder woman at one of the community meetings, she said that when she got her ballot, she only voted for her district because she didn't know anybody else on that ballot. She only knew the people in her district. And, it seemed to be the same to the different communities that I went to within my district. And the majority do want to go back to district voting. So yes, I am in favor of.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl has a question here, and there's a word in it, but I think I understand what he's meaning, so I'm just going to paraphrase you there, T.Y. Do you support Creek Nation citizenship adopting the federal standard of the Rogers-St. Cloud test to determine if someone meets the definition of an Indian under federal law as the new process to comply with SC 2023-10?
I don't even know how to answer that because I don't know SSC-10. I don't know about any of that. So I don't want to answer because I don't even know what that means. To be honest, I don't know what that means.
All righty. T.Y. Prohl asks, what is your position on pretendians and wannabe tribes?
Well, I don't really know how to answer that because I am against it. However I need to say that, I don't know. I think for me, when it starts affecting our funding for our people, definitely have an issue with that.
Okay. We're waiting on some more chat questions to come in here, so I'm going to jump over to the email questions. Are you a citizen of any federally recognized tribal town?
No.
Do you think dual enrollment in a federally recognized tribal town is a conflict of interest?
Not necessarily, because honestly, those tribal towns were the first. I mean, they were first. So no.
Okay. Vakinza Italiana is asking a question here. Part of it's in Mvskoke. I'm going to read it as best I can, and then it has the English version after that. So, Mvskoke Media, do you speak Mvskoke?
No.
Okay. Jumping back to our email questions here, let me see if I can find one that we haven't asked already. Here's one. Are you familiar with the MCN Priority Climate Action Plan, and how will you work on the council if elected to enact the recommendations in the plan and facilitate meeting its goals?
No, I'm not familiar with that plan.
Okay. We got a question here. David where it says, ask her how she herself contributed to writing legislation for the nation.
There was one legislation that I will say I introduced it was actually a citizen contacted me about the burial grave house, and he asked me if I would consider sponsoring the bill to do that. And so he and I worked together because he is ceremonial and he knows more about that type of tradition than I do. So I asked him for all this information, and then I actually contacted Chief Hill, and he gave me the approval to visit with the different programs that it would affect, mainly social services. So we all got together, sat down, and went through it, and it was adopted by the council. So it would be the Barrel Grave House.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl is asking, do you believe treaty tribes should have consent authority over non-treaty state and federally recognized tribes within their historic or current reservation boundaries and ancestral homelands ceded by treaty?
I would have to probably say yes on that one.
Okie dokie. David Ware is asking, why are you just now writing term limit legislation?
Well, I have been thinking about it for probably for a couple of years. And then that question was actually brought up at one of the forums. And I did answer that I was in support of the term limits, as most everyone on the panel did say they supported it. And whenever I spoke about it, well, when I was talking about it, I did say as a sitting representative, I could go ahead and introduce it now. So I'm fulfilling that now.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl asks, do you support putting same-sex marriage on the ballot?
Nope. I think I've been asked this twice before, and my answer is still the same.
Okay. Let's see here. Waiting on some chat questions. Let me see if there is well, how about this? We haven't asked this. Oh, no, we did ask about that. Sorry, I'm just going through a list of stuff.
That's fine.
Okay, we've got a question pop up in chat. Elijah B. asks, what do you think about this Oklahoma governor?
Probably I have the same feelings that everybody else does. I don't respect him or the position that he has.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl asks, what is your position on federal recognition? Federal recognition.
Yes. As far as the porch ban, yes.
Okay. And I guess one of the questions that's on my list here is also tied in with that. Would you vote in the future to continue to fund the legal the lawsuits challenging the porch ban?
Yeah, but I definitely would want to look and see how much we've spent so far, because I know this has been ongoing for years. So definitely would like to see how much money we've spent on that.
Okay. I want to remind you guys we're at 23 minutes and we normally go about 30 minutes. So if you have a question, pop it into the chat. I'm waiting on a chat question to come in. Let me see if there's anything on my list here that we haven't covered. How about this one? Do you know the amount currently held in the permanent fund? Would you support a movement to accumulate over $1 billion in the permanent fund before the end of the decade?
I don't recall exactly how much is in the permanent fund. I'm sure it was in the last quarterly report that we received from the chief. Regarding having $1 billion, I think it probably depends on on if it's needed or not. To me, if it had something to do with commerce, because we need more commerce, we've got to have other resource other than gaming. And to me, you've got to spend money to make money. And we've got to have other sources of revenue in order to be able to sustain the programs that we have, or even create more programs for our citizens. So, I think that if it's something that we need to get into for commerce, I would be in favor of. I don't necessarily look at, that later on. I look at now.
Okay. Johnny Jacobs asks, what type of businesses do you think would benefit our district in the future? And I'm assuming she's asking about Tukvpvtce.
With us, we have Holdenville and Wetumpka, Dustin. So we don't, very, very rural area. I think a grocery store would be nice to have a tribal grocery store, maybe even a tribal plaza. Now, the thing is that where do you locate that? Because it's got to be easy accessible. Because if you put something in Holdenville, the people in Destin probably couldn't make it to Holdenville. So you've got to consider it centrally local, so that everybody can come to it, because we all know, especially in this area, that transportation is an issue. So I think it'd be hard to, again, just got to be easy accessible, but I could definitely see a grocery store or a travel plaza.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl asks, do you believe the Indian Arts and Crafts Act is adequately enforced on the reservation to protect against frauds?
I don't, I'm not in the arts and crafts, so I'm not even sure how that works. So, I don't want to comment on it because I don't have enough knowledge on that.
Okay. David Ware asks, why did you vote no when Holdenville needed a fire truck when Representative Marshall introduced that legislation a few years back?
I think for me was the cost. And then sometimes whenever you do for one, then it opens it up to everyone else. So I think that probably was the main reason. Just like anything else, if you do it for one, you're going to have an influx of other communities wanting to do the same thing.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl asks, do you support requiring that the Southern Villa Riverline development by River Spirit be required to dedicate a percentage of the units to housing citizens and their businesses and to help clear the Tulsa affordable housing wait list?
That would be great if that's something we can do. We actually had a meeting, I can't recall when it was. I've been to so many meetings lately. But yes, anything that we can do to house our citizens, I think that's a great idea. And you mentioned businesses too. I mean, yeah, if there's an opportunity for us to be able to capture, for our citizens in that area, yeah, for sure.
Okay. We're waiting on some questions to come in, guys. We're almost wrapped. We got 2 or 3 more minutes, so get your question in there. But I wanted to give you an opportunity, Ms. Osborn. We've asked questions about a bunch of different topics. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that's central to your platform or things that you want to do in the next term?
No, I don't think I don't believe I have a platform. It's just trying to get a handle on all of the things that are going on right now. What I'd like to do is for the council or a few of us to be able to sit down with the chief and find out what his priorities are and how can we help him. Because, there have been so many things. It seems like that we can't get started on something and then something else comes and hits us that's major. We had the tobacco compact, and then we've got porch ban, and it just seems like there's just everything is everywhere. So just trying to get a handle on what's going on and how can we help as a council.
Okay. Vakinza Italiana asks, do you support the idea of lowering blood quantum for tribal citizenship? If so, what is the lowest blood quantum would you support?
Lowering the blood quantum for citizenship?
Yeah.
Because right now we don't have a blood quantum.
Right. Yeah. I think there's I think there's a misunderstanding there, guys, that you don't have to have a blood quantum to apply for citizenship. You just need to have an ancestor that was on the Dawes roll. So that's how that works. T.Y. Prohl asks, would you support a tribal resolution to recognize Palestine as a state and to denounce the Israeli genocide?
No.
Okay. Well, we're at 29 minutes and 53 seconds here, guys, and we're getting into pretty far away from the National Council's purview on that. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. And next week's schedule is, actually this week on the 12th at 6 p.m. tomorrow, we have Jacina Brown. And then next week on the 15th at 6 p.m., we have Nelson Harjo Sr. And on the 16th, we have Sandra Parrish also at 6 p.m. And then early voting starts on the 17th and will be well into the election. So you guys, the deadline for registering to vote was the 9th, so I hope you made it. And that's our schedule. And thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you guys again. Mado, hadam, chihichat, please.